there. I just want to tell you how honored I am to have Daniel join us in the middle of his night to talk to us about some things. I'm honored to say he's a friend of mine. And despite that, I am ashamed to say that he speaks more languages than countries I've even visited, I believe. He's got a beautiful last name that, as an American, I pronounce Ghanime, which isn't even close to what's right. Daniel, just say your last name for us so everybody can actually hear the purity of your last name.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My last name is Ghanime.
Okay. So you see why I'm saying I'm just a dumb American. Ghanime. I was close. That was close. I'll keep trying.
That was 100%. That's the one. And it sounded sexy, although.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. All right. So now we're in. So I'm Daniel, and I really respect what he has to do. I respect the fact that this isn't even his bio yet. I'll get to that in just a second. But what I really respect is that he's doing this from Lebanon, in a country where there's been economic collapse. They sometimes lose electricity, all sorts of things go on. They don't even have a president, for heaven's sake. And apparently they're doing just fine. But all sorts of turmoil. And yet he's practicing this profession in a country that's got a multitude of religions, a multitude of beliefs, Christianity and Muslims, and all sorts of things coming in, lots of different languages. And they're on a social level about the way we were in the 50s. So some of the things that we deal with here in the United States, Michael mentioned women and rape earlier. I wonder, Daniel, if a woman could even come to you and talk about that. Maybe in your practice it's fine, but it's one of the things I'd like to ask. They're just beginning to even deal with things like homosexuality, much less transsexuality. All of this stuff is new, and yet this man is dealing with these kinds of things because this is where people go to get help. So Daniel is a seasoned practitioner and trainer with a track record of success with individuals, couples, and groups. His work focuses on reshaping and reprogramming the emotions to build resiliency and emotional awareness in children, in teens, and adults. As a morphopsychologist, not something we necessarily have in this country, Daniel, but I'll let you tell us more about what morphopsychologist is, and clinical hypnotherapist specializing in regression to cause, Daniel offers a multidisciplinary approach to facilitating true change and healing for his clients. Daniel's an international MBA. He's a Dave Ellman Hypnosis Institute trainer and a member of IMDHA and multiple global associations and certifications. Regression to cause and hypnoanalysis is what we're talking about today. And Daniel, with all of this stuff going on, with all of the psychology that you have behind you and everything else, why hypnosis, and what brought you to hypnosis?
Hello, everyone. So thank you for the introduction. Why hypnosis? Beats me. I don't know. Seriously, I don't know. It happened by mere coincidence. I always tell that in this story, and everyone looks at me as if I'm coming from outer space. I come from an engineering background in telecommunication, and so you can imagine. Went through my master's in business and then continued just for the fun of it. I had some time on my hands, so I did morphopsychology, which is quite an interesting tool to use. It's just like working and analyzing the facial traits of someone on a photo and pulling out the character of that person. Just to understand, not to judge. And from there on, you can use that in terms of criminology, recruitment, whatever. So basically all these kind of things, you can do them just to orientate people or know more about their backgrounds. So this is it's quite interesting. And it happened that the professor, the doctor that was giving the the lectures and the training, it's not the training, it's a big, like 2 years class. on morphopsychology, she decided to do just a visit to have a small training in hypnotherapy. And she said, "Would you go with me?" I said, like, "Yeah, hypnotherapy, you mean like just like dangling watches and doing pendulums and stuff?" It's like, "I don't know." It's like, "Okay, I'll go with you." And the story started. I was hooked on Gerald Klein, got into Omni, and the rest, I'm here with you. So it goes like that, and I'm fascinated by some aspects of being the rogue thug hypnosis kind of thing, being the black sheep of the family, doing regression to cause on an abreactive regression therapy level. Basically, I'm your, what do you call this? Your neighborhood's exorcist and hypnosis. So it happened to me once that I was working in a polyclinic with mostly like something very traumatic, that at 13, she was like, but in the days in 56 years old, but at the age of 13, her brother of 8 drowned, and she had to hold him in her hands and die in her hands. So while we were like releasing that thing, after so long, the screams were so intense that when I got out and I was searching for Caesar, that the guy, who owns the place, he disappeared. And when I called him, said like, "Who wanted to have a beer?" Said like, "To hell with you with the beer. What were you doing there? Were you doing some exorcism?" Said like, "Close enough, but at least you could have checked on her instead of running away." So basically, it's not for the weak knees. These kind of things are quite intense, and most of you are like seasoned professionals, so you know what I'm talking about. So that's my story, mere coincidence. And the interesting part, Michael talked about 1971 TV series, and the 1971 was so special because at that year I was born. So if you were wondering, so basically that's one thing, Michael, you can add to your list. So that's good.
Of amazing things from 1971. Thank you very much.
Yeah, me born. Yeah, and then
you don't bring all of your clients to a screaming space on their knees, do you?
No, not whatsoever. I will talk about that now. Most of the people, they think regression, because we're going to talk about regression. Basically, you can interrupt me anytime. I like being interactive. I like scribbling a lot. Karen knows me more than like I use these kind of scribbles, and it's good to just have an interactive kind of way to discuss things, because let's put it this way: regression to causes is to hypnosis is just like hypnosis to psychotherapy. It comes from a very dark background. People, they are afraid to use it. Some people, they minimize the use of it or just demean it somehow, and it's okay. It's fine. Many hypnotists, they don't like NLPers, and many hypnotherapists, they hate coaches, and everyone just like it's the world. It's indoctrination. It's people against people. It's about Pink Floyd's song "Us and Them." It goes like that. So what is regression to cause in this case? When we work with regression to cause, it's mostly it once before called hypnoanalysis, and that's quite regression. That's what we called when it comes to hypnoanalysis, or what was called again back in the days with Hernando Cuvier, hypnocritic or something. We use that something else that's called hypnoscopy, which is guided imagery of our days. So basically, those long time gone namings, it has been used for quite a while. The problem is, back in the days, those kind of what we called abreactions weren't controlled. And this is why people are afraid to use regression to cause, that you are re-traumatizing your client. But basically, what is an abreaction? Why are we afraid of it? It's like that moment in time when your client flips and screams and cries or chokes or these kind of things. But regression to cause is not about reaching that point, because When you reach that point, there's a simple way to bring it down, to just minimize it. But what happens, I'll quote Dave Ellman, whatever happened in the past keeps happening to us every single day on subconscious level. We live in the light of our reflected action. So basically, the abreaction doesn't happen in the clinic, doesn't happen in the office, doesn't happen in the chair or something. It happens every single day. A migraine is an abreaction. Eating your fingernails, biting your fingernails are abreactions. Having what are called irregular bowel syndrome, IBS, that's an abreaction. All those psychosomatic stuff, they're abreactions, like abnormal reactions, but they happen every single time. Panic attacks are abreactions. So tell me if an abreaction happened while driving the car. So these kind of things happen. The good thing about that abreaction, when it happens with you in your practice, there's a very nifty technique that Jerry Kine taught me, and which was taught to him by his mentor. It's like you stand behind or in front, it doesn't matter. You just put this hand like that, just be, and then you put that hand like that. It's very interesting. And then you put them like that together. You look up there and you say, thank you, God, for having that. It's at that moment in time, this is where your client regressed to that exact moment and reliving that moment. Now, why do we say reliving or revivification? For a simple reason, because everyone knows the subconscious mind works in the now. There are no yesterdays, there are no tomorrows for your subconscious mind. What happens is long-term memory it's partially an event plus a certain emotion, okay, or a feeling, or an image, or a thought, or whatever, or a sensation. So the event happened in the past. The emotion is felt in the now. So if you remember any moment now about a happy event, you will feel happy. A traumatizing event, you will feel that anguish. A sad event, you will feel the sadness, even though that event happened 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So when we are in the now, and you are using your subconscious mind, basically you are in the now. And when you're working with the subconscious mind in the now, you can fix that emotion in the now. So isn't that what reframing is? Isn't that what, like the things we do? It's like what we feel at that exact moment. And this is what brings us back to those days where Freud used to use regression to cause. Joseph Breuer used to use regression, and basically they used it to re-trigger hysterical, or women in hysteria back then, to analyze this. So regression to cause is a tool to discover for hypnoanalysis, and not a therapy by itself. It's not the way if you regress someone. Now, if they take consciousness about that and find themselves a certain way to deal with it, you guide them through it, you put some techniques into it, then you're doing hypnotherapy. And this is where I can do my burger model. I don't know, Karen, she knows that burger model. The burger model is quite interesting about what is hypnoanalysis, what is regression to cause, what is hypnotherapy, and what is hypnosis. So, Karen, do you have a question? I felt like
I want to. I don't want to jump ahead, but I do want you to clarify the difference between hypnotherapy and hypnoanalysis.
Yeah, exactly. That's where the burger comes. Can I share my screen? If everyone knows me, that I share the screen. I do this iPad stuff. It started to be a signature at the end. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Michael, you may have to give him permission for that. I can't.
I might. Go ahead and try it, Daniel. I think that it's open.
Okay. I just like it when you try to share your screen and Zoom on decides to update. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. You can see this, right? So what happens?
A black screen. You have something.
Black screen, yeah. So everyone likes burgers, okay? I'm gonna just draw a simple burger. First, we start with the bun, and then we put some. I'm gonna draw a blue burger. Have you eaten a blue burger before? It's delicious. And then you put the meat, and then you put some salad on it, some condiments. Okay, and that's what hypnotherapy is. Basically, hypnotherapy starts with an induction, right? And then ends with an immersion. That's what hypnosis is. That's hypnosis. Basically, hypnosis is not a very interesting thing. To me, it's so simple, just like a cardboard box. It only enters my sleeping cat over there. Nothing in it. It's just like do hypnosis, put people in hypnosis, get them out. Nothing happens, right? It's what happened in hypnosis. What happens in hypnosis is the important part. So let's put it this way. The meat is just let's put it like that. In this case, here is your uncovering techniques, which we call HypnoAnalysis. No analysis. Excuse my gibberish. What happens in HypnoAnalysis is just like you need to reach a certain point where you know what happened at that moment in time. Some people they think that the initial sensitizing event is very important. For me, it's when you reach that moment, you will know about it. They will know about it. It will feel like you know about it. It doesn't matter. Once you reach that moment in time, you deal with it. And how do you deal with it? You do therapy. Okay. So what hypnosis is basically is, if we put it this way, it's hypno therapy, right? So and there are two different words. That's hypno and therapy. Hypno, here, that's the bun of the burger. And therapy are the techniques you use in order to solve the problem. And those techniques include the analysis of the thing. One of them is regression to cause. That's a technique to reach a certain point and understand even more. And once before, it used to be called hypnocritic or hypnoscopy in order to see what's happening. And those are like way long gone names. And it's not meant to be to create a certain abreaction, as we said. So once you understand that, you know your induction, you know when to emerge, you know how to reach that certain point in working with those, deep cases, and you know what are the techniques, and you have a very extensive toolbox. It's a very easy thing to do. Now, do we regress in different times? Yes. You could be talking about your dying father or your dead father or grandpa or friend, and then you find yourself, sobbing. You regress to those moments. A regression can happen at any moment in time. So we know that things we do that, unwillingly sometimes. But if you contain it in a very what do you call it, clinical, office, contained domain, it will be easier to deal with. So if we take the rape, for example, Michael mentioned the rape. So what happens if we put it on a timeline, and then that rape, let's put it this way. This is the conscious state, and this is subconscious. It has been buried way down here. Let's say the rape happened at the age of 16. and it's buried on subconscious level here. Anytime you bring it up, you'll have an abreaction. So basically, you go and you bring it up, you have an abreaction, an explosion here. When we're doing regression, if that woman or man, doesn't matter, has been regressed and they are 54, let's say now, and we're working with that. When we regress and that at that moment in time here and an abreaction happens, we don't just leave them there just to fight with it. We already know that it happened. All we need to know, all we need to do is we regress them back before that event, when everything was okay. And then we regress them, and then we progress them basically in the past. That's like Back to the Future. We progress them back in the past to that point where the rape has finished, because that moment in time is like infinite. For them, those 3, 4, 5 minutes are like eternity. Then they felt like they're going to die. So what they need to know is everything is okay. So when we do regression, we don't do regression to that point in time. Once we understand that, go after. So it is assured for the client that everything was okay. And then we do plenty of other techniques to deal with it. So what are the techniques that we use? Basically, we are based in Gestalt, if we can call. If anyone has any question, maybe I'll start at the whirlpool of plenty of questions. Anyone? Questions? No? So regression to cause, as I said, it's a black sheep of the family. Whenever we do regression to cause, things go like people, they look at you as if you're coming from outer space, as I said. It's not something new. So if it is very important, why was it ditched? Why the psychotherapist didn't use it? And when you mentioned something, Michael, that is very interesting. We do not diagnose. We do not prescribe. We don't step on any dog thingy. It goes like that. So basically, we don't use the DSM. The moment you start diagnosing, you're shifting away and you're just moving away from the reality of the problem, because by diagnosing with a set of criterias on psychotherapeutic level, you're losing the sense of what we call a client-centered approach, which is what do they want, what they want to achieve from that. It's not up to you to decide what they want. They will do that. You don't lead them, you just guide them. And if you guide them, they will know what to do. And then you will just be there to tell them how, at a certain moment in time when they are stuck, how to untangle themselves from that traumatic event, a serious issue, whatever happened before and will never happen to you, what happens in history. It's like I always use that kind of metaphor. There are 2 days in the year that you will not be able ever to change. It's impossible to change those 2 days. Anyone knows those 2 days? That's yesterday and tomorrow.
Death date?
No, that's yesterday and tomorrow. Yesterday and tomorrow, there's no possible way you can change them. Whatever happened yesterday happened, and whatever will happen tomorrow, you have no control over it. So yesterday, that's a depression. Tomorrow, that's anxiety, and that tomorrow kind of anxiety it's experiencing being like in a high level of stress or experiencing lack of information, because you don't have any information about what will happen tomorrow. You kind of have a certain image, but then your subconscious mind doesn't know a yesterday and a tomorrow. So whatever happened at that moment in time happens in the now. This is why people are anxious in the now about something that didn't happen yet. So and then
let me ask a question, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Is it preferred in your belief system, in the way you do things, is it preferred to revivify an event? Is that preferable to an observational position where you're observing it from afar?
Okay. We have two situations here in the regression. There's the NLP kind of timeline where you are dissociated from that event, and then you have the revivification, which is the hypnotherapeutic kind of technique of hypnoanalysis that was used by many Breuer, Freud, Charcot, and all the rest of the people. At that situation, you don't have a dissociation; you have an association. The dissociative state, when you're doing a regression to cause using the timeline, you're just there observing what is happening down there, okay, or down there, up there, whichever way. It depends on how you see your timeline. And at that moment, you could use something we call hypermnesia, which is amnesia. Amnesia, that's when you forget things. Hypermnesia is when you over remember stuff. So you hyper remember stuff. So basically, you're using your memory. And when you use your memory, it doesn't mean that you are reliving this. It will happen to you through the revivification. People, they will start speaking in present tense, and this is something interesting. If you now try to experience it yourself, tell me about any event that happened to you, but using the present tense, you are forced at a certain moment in. So this is the power of words. But when you do regression to cause, you are in a very deep hypnotic somnambulistic state. Call it whatever you call it, hummus again. So it's not about the naming. It's about that state, that level, that vibration you're in, where you are at a certain moment reliving that situation. And when you're reliving that situation, you are seeing. Some people, they can see it vividly. Some people, they can feel the seeing it. So basically, if you are in your room now, you close your eyes, you know that you are in your room. From the smell, from the feeling of the chair, from all the air around you. So people don't need to see things in 3D. So this is why some people, they think, okay, we went there and I didn't see anything. And like Steve Farkle used to say, nothing is something. Sometimes you regress someone and say like, okay, where are you? Inside, outside, alone, someone with you. It's like, oh, nothing. And this is where hypnotherapists, they just succumb to their own limit of whatever you call this. So what happened in that moment, no one, absolutely no one, as I say always, only dead people and robots do not have emotions. And I'm quite unsure about the last one. Basically, robots now, they started, so basically dead people and dead people. No one has no emotion. That's an emotion. The blocking of that emotion will lead you to nothing, just putting you at that situation where you block that from your own vocab. You don't want to mention the name of that person or just say it out loud what happened. But basically, again, just like Elman used to say, we live in the light of our reflected actions, and whatever happened to us in the past keeps happening to us every single day on subconscious level. So what we do, we do not alter reality. We do not change memories. Anyway, when it comes to memories, they're so subjective. Some people remember that they did something that never happened. Some people, they remember things the way they are, and they're not the same way. We're not talking about Mandela's effect anyway, just looking at these kind of things. But at a certain moment in time, sometimes we remember something that happened this way, and it happened differently just by watching the video of our wedding, for heaven's sake. We remember those people were there. You watch the video and it's like, no, they weren't there. So we have our own altered realities. But what happened in regression, when we regress and we work with that emotion in the now, we are changing the perception of the event. And this is the issue with it. It's the perception of that event that has put so much trauma on us. And once there is an understanding of that event, we go back to Carl Gustav Jung, until you make your subconscious conscious, or it will keep coming and bite you in the butt. Not verbatim, anyway. But what happens with that situation? It's like when you keep coming to that event and it is not cleared yet. So sometimes that emotion, that last time seen emotion, or if I'll put it this way, it's not easy sometimes to regress someone. The easiest part is to take them to the first event or the latest event related. Let's say they had a panic attack. That emotion of the panic attack, the latest one, is the most explosive one. But basically, the first time it happened, it was the smallest part of that. I will draw it. It will be easier to understand it this way. It is the least affecting. So when we use affect bridge or these kind of things we talk about usually, we go back and the event is not the most important event. It's not the most emotionally charged event. Actually, it's the least emotionally charged event. We're not talking about rape in this case. We're talking about any phobia, for heaven's sake. So if I'm gonna go back and draw the conscious subconscious kind of thing, this is the conscious subconscious, and we're going from 0 in the womb, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Let's say this is 25 years of age. At that moment here, we had the phobia. At 4 years of age, something happened. And at 40 years of age, it's so deeply engraved and on subconscious level. A dog bit someone in front of that kid, okay, at that moment in time. And what happens, the emotion here is intense, but it's not that big. So they're not afraid of dogs yet. They're not having phobia. They're afraid of dogs. They're trying to protect themselves. And then another event happened, and it felt like I need to protect myself. And then I need to grow up that fear. Fear equals protection, by the way. That's emotion. That is a protective, positive emotion. Fear is not negative. And again, it happened, and that thing grew up even more until that moment in time when they reached at 25 years of age. It kept on growing and growing. And then it hit on the 25 years of age. They had that reaction when they saw a dog, sweaty hands, heart racing, their knees got weak, they felt them going to faint, and they got that huge, big phobia attack. And it kept on happening and growing like until, they are like 40 years of age, and it got so big, they will not leave their home if they heard a dog barking. So here, at this place here, they could leave home if they heard the dog barking, but they would stay away from it. At this state here, they wouldn't leave it. So the least charged is this one compared to what is happening on conscious level now. So this is why when you regress someone to that point, you're not regressing them to the most charged situation. The most charged situation comes in later because, the compounding, the law of compounding. This is why we repeat and keep on repeating suggestions. They have given themselves autosuggestions, and this is what we call self-hypnosis, okay, isn't it? All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. We have given ourselves so many suggestions that even Freud didn't like it. It happened. I have a reference here to something that Freud didn't like about people. They are hypnotizing themselves as if it was like some sort of a curse or something bad. In Klein, 1972, he points out that Freud desired a school of psychology divorced from the simplicity of suggestion. Simplicity of suggestion, what does that mean? Hypnosis is simple. It's not very quite, complicated. We do that every single day. And if we continue that, since when hypnotic techniques are used, the patient can, and here goes, suggest to himself whatever he pleases. That's Freud, 1917. So you can imagine, they knew. It's like they knew that we can do it to ourselves. We can hypnotize and dehypnotize ourselves. And we can give ourselves so many suggestions that we can destroy our lives, or we rebuild it. The subconscious mind did it. The subconscious mind will undo it. If and only if they want to do so. So unfortunately, Freud has had so many challenges in hypnosis, and he reached a certain point where he thought that in hypnotherapy or hypnoanalysis, the person is dependent on the therapist. So the moment they leave or they split, the problem comes back. Because back then there weren't so many techniques that will get you through this. Who knows about Fritz Perls? Anyone? Show of hands. Yeah. Fritz Perls, the father of Gestalt therapy, and if we go back and we look at things the way Fritz Perls started it with the empty chair, also known as chair therapy, deathbed therapy, and parts therapy. So basically, Fritz Perls started something that even in the psychotherapy domain, they don't consider it for a simple reason, because you're using consciously some ways to do it. Fortunately for us, hypnotherapists, we found the state where Gestalt can bloom and thrive and do magic. That's subconscious level. That's hypnosis. So when you regress back and you know what happened, you can use Gestalt therapy techniques by going with inner child work, and everyone is okay with inner child. You can use chair therapy. Everyone is okay with chair therapy. Parts therapy, inner family system, whatever you call it. These kind of techniques, you can use them. You can even use NLP reframing kind of ways and techniques in order to just dim that emotion, just by understanding where and when that happened, and what is better to do something if you had the opportunity to go back in time and stop whatever did anything to you without harming the timeline. So you can imagine, you take a time machine, you go back, you slap your dad, and you come back here, and then your dad is not your dad anymore. That will disturb the whole timeline. But you have the opportunity to go there, change that moment without affecting anything in the whole universe, and things will be so okay. So it's a godsend. So it's not about the regression itself. The regression itself is a tool to reach at a certain moment in time to understand even more and see. It's an uncovering technique. Now, what you use in that burger, that's the important part. So some people, they add too much chili and they will have an abreaction and they will look at it while they're choking. Some people, they will put peanut to people that they are allergic to peanut butter. And then those people will have quite an intense situation here. So we need.
But it's just wrong to put peanut butter on a burger. So,
I don't know. For someone who eats pineapple and anchovies on their pizza, you don't say that to me.
that is my point, Dan. That is exactly my point. Is that is the way people look at it often, is it not? That, oh my gosh, yes, everything you said so far is good, but absolutely do not put peanut butter on that. Do not add that technique to that. Do not do
exactly.
That. What I just heard you say, and correct me if I'm wrong, that that regression is a beautiful tool and you can get a lot of information out of regression, but it is not the be all and end all. There are other techniques that follow to round the session.
Of course, regression to cause, some people, they call it regression to cause therapy. Okay. When you're doing regression to cause on its own, again, hypnosis on its own, it's nothing. Regression to cause It's like, I don't know what we call it. It's like as if you're just watching over the yard, but there's someone stealing your stuff. So what do you do about it? Okay. So there you introduce a technique to deal with that. So it's a combination of things. It's the state of somnambulism, the level of depth of trance, if we can call it, the revivification, the regression to that situation, and the tools that you use at that moment, the right tools that they are fit for what your client needs. Okay, it's client-centered. It's not you bestow on them your powerful, I don't know what, hypnotic suggestions, the mesmeric way. And this is where there was a big differentiation between Franz Anton Mesmer and Hénin de Cuvier. Hénin de Cuvier, he wrote an amazing book. It's called, now speaking different languages, Le Magnétisme Éclairé. It's a French. He's French, so the book is in French. Basically, it's about all the prefix hypn, because he coined all the hypn, vocab, and everybody, gave it to Braid, and it wasn't Braid. So basically, he came. The book is amazing, and he talks about something that he called them hypnoscope. People who are experiencing hypnoscopy, which is the revivification and the seeing in the state of hypnosis, okay, they are called hypnoscope. People, they weren't called somnambulistic or whatever, hypnotized people, or he called them hypnoscopes. So those hypnoscopes nowadays, hypnotized people, they were able to see things in that state. And what is imagination? Changing the perception of that event that you saw during that situation. So using your imagination, you can do plenty of things. But if we can put it this way, feelings and sensations are part of the subconscious mind. Long-term memory is an event plus an emotion, or a feeling, or an image, or a thought, or a sensation in the subconscious mind. That will trigger a certain behavior. The repetition of that behavior becomes a habit. And since your subconscious mind is too lazy and so protective, doesn't want to change that habit, you keep that habit. When you had it at 4 years of age, when you used to be afraid of the dog, till the age of 45, where you cannot get rid of it because it has protected you so long. And that's the BS comes in. My belief system tells me that if I stay home, I'm protected from dogs. But it's a poodle down there. If it bites you, it will break its tooth, I guess. So it's about the situation, because the subconscious mind doesn't differ between virtual and real. And you show a photo of a snake or a tarantula to someone, and they hang up on the ceiling. Their subconscious mind would trigger that, the protective part of them. So once you know that working in the now, you have the power to change the perception of that now, you will dissociate the event from the emotion. You neutralize the emotion, you still have an event with so much experience to make you go in the years after, even though you are in the now. So if you regress back to that moment in time and you did your therapy techniques at that moment in time, it's as if you taught the subconscious mind way before. That perception of the event is so different, and you progress. And this is why people after regression, they go home and they keep processing. Sometimes they cry for 3-4 days. Sometimes it's fine for them, it's like a magic wand. Sometimes it takes them a month or two, and then it clicks. It happened that I have a client of mine. I told them that one day it will click. Don't worry, it will work. And then they called me about like 3 months later, said like, you remember that click? I woke up and there's nothing there. It felt so weird.
Watch out, Daniel. That was quite Ericksonian.
What? Which one? The click? The click?
Yes.
Oh, geez. Don't get me started on that. I have enough Freudians that they hate me. I don't want to start the Ericksonian thing. So so basically, it's fine. If you can use regression to cause the right way, and there's not like right or wrong, but there are some things that you can use that will make your regression to cause session work better than others. It doesn't mean we don't want people to go in regression to cause and do the mistake that Sigmund Freud did once before. When it didn't work, he deemed hypnosis not working. And if it wasn't working, why are we just hanging on here? So basically, it comes from a belief system of Sigmund Freud that it wasn't working, and then he bestowed that belief system using his own hypnosis and indoctrination on other people to ditch hypnosis because he couldn't do it, unfortunately. Unfortunately,
I'd like to go beyond regression for just a moment. Yes. And it is a great way to discover, to unlock, to look at things, to get to a point. But now I'm going to let my NLP specificity rear its ugly head for a moment and ask you to get specific about how you know when to do a parts piece there, or how do you know when to do a forgiveness piece there? What are your trigger points? What are you looking for to know what to take it to the next step to round it out? You got down to the nitty gritty. Now, where do we go? And how do you know how to go?
Okay, there's no specific protocol for doing that. And again, once I said it to Larry Ellman, a regression to cause is just like as if you're using a tank to shoot a mosquito on the wall. So you don't use regression to cause all the time. Not all the time. Some surface issues, they need surface techniques. Like we work with NLP or we work with direct suggestion and stuff like that. But some deep things, they need deeper techniques, which is, regression to cause is one of them. Now, when we use which technique, it depends on the client. The client will lead you through that. You will be there, and all of a sudden, many times I was going to, I have a phone call with someone, and it happened that, okay, I need this, and that was back in the days. I used to bring on my papers and put it on the iPad and make a file by the name Karen, and I need this and this and that. I go there and start the pre-talk, and I take the intake and just take in the interband, and then, holy crap, what should I do? It's like all this, it's out from the window. They want something totally different, and I'm just facing something totally different. And since very long time ago, I go with nothing. I have a piece of paper and a pen, and that's it. So when you're talking to that client, the client will give you all this. Let's put it this way. If you have a client that, again, back to the dogs, is afraid of dogs, okay? You do the fast phobia cure. Let's put it this way. Some people will do that, and it didn't work. And then we regress. And we see the initial sensitizing event where it started. We neutralize that event, and it doesn't work. Okay, cool. There's some secondary gain in here. When we're talking about secondary gain, there's something related to a part of that person that doesn't want to let go of that fear, because that fear will bring them some sort of a benefit somehow. Like it's a way not to go to their parents' place or their uncle's place whatsoever, and it's a reason. It's I don't know, trick for the parents or whatever, not to go there. So if they are not afraid of dogs anymore, they will have to do this. Okay, so basically, there's a part of them that doesn't want to just break away from that habit, because phobia is a habit. It's a learned fear, and then you talk to that part. And then you do mediation with that part, and you find yourself negotiating with those parts that they don't want to get rid of that phobia. So basically, that's a simplistic way. But sometimes you regress a part, and not many people do that. I do that. When everybody maybe does the parts therapy. You go into conference room, you put all those parts around, and then you just start with them. When did you come? Do you like Karen? Do you love Michael? Let's say, do you want this is for the benefit of Michael? When did it all started? And when was the first time you came into Michael's life? And they freeze. And then you regress that part. That fearful part, actually, it's not the whole thing. You regress only the part to understand what the hell happened. And it's a kind of indirect affect bridge, because with the affect bridge, they have a feeling related. Everybody knows the difference between affect, feeling, emotion. So these kind of things. So basically that affect, that they can sense it. We can bridge it back to the first time it ever happened. But what if we can bridge back from an emotion that is a part on its own when it was first introduced into Michael's life? So if we regress that part, you tell me like, I came to help Michael to stay away from dogs. Okay, you did enough. He was 5 years old back then. Do you think Michael needs you now? I don't know. Okay, here we go. Hello, Michael. Michael, do you need fear to stay in your life? Basically, we're going to give fear a different job description. Should you be the HR manager, we're going to say like, from now on, you're not fear, you're protection. Would you like that? Yes. What protectors do, protect. But basically, you don't do it on your own. Michael, you decide when protector is going to come. So basically, we just play with that. And this is how the session will go. And remember, I came with a bunch of papers, lots of files on my iPad, and there's nothing that I use from there. So basically, now I use my iPad to play music in the background, waiting for my clients to come, and that's it. So I'm not using it anymore, because once you understand the whole concept of, talking about forgiveness, people, they find it a bit hard to do. But you need to explain to people what is forgiveness beforehand. You do it in waking hypnosis, when you're talking to them, during the intake, whatever. But for many people here, we've heard about forgiveness of others, forgiveness of self. But what we mean about forgiveness is very important, more than forgiveness itself. We don't have another word for it. But let's deal with it as a forgiveness. It means I do not accept what you did to me. I will never condone what you did to me. One thing I will do, I will forgive you and set myself free. So, well, mathematically speaking, I tell them, you've been living f of x, the function of x equal. So now you're function of your own self. You're not those things anymore. Mathematically speaking, your formula has no x's in it. So you don't deal with those things on a functional level. So when you sit at that bench, you're sitting on your own. You're not sitting with your dying father, let's say. You're not sitting with the perpetrator that you had in your life. You don't sit with that narcissistic husband of yours. You don't sit with that accident that you have every time you see them. So basically, you dissociate again. We dissociate the event from the emotion. And this is basically doing that on a subconscious level will differentiate from doing it from willpower point of view. Because willpower is part of the conscious mind. And when you do things out of willpower, because it's a process, by the way, this is why it's conscious. It's a process. Willpower, you decide, you take a decision, and then you proceed. That's a process, conscious process. And when you use willpower, it only will last about, let's say, based on researchers, 2 weeks on one single subject. I give the analogy that willpower is like a bucket of water you have at home, where you need to use it for dishwashing, for cleaning, for drinking, for the shower, for doing your pasta, whatever. So it won't last long if you use it for all those. Maybe it will finish in one day. And some people, they feel the burnout because they have used their willpower so much, and that they have to wait until it is replenished or like refilled. And when you wait for it to refill, you're feeling that kind of depressive, kind of anxious kind of situation where you cannot control anymore, because you could just like doing it like that. And when things happen on subconscious level, those things, they just disappear on their own, and that becomes your new, I hate this kind of words, but it's the new normal. Okay, the new normal for you. So it's new, it's you. So you won't find any difference. And that's why I call the hypnotherapy as an ingrate a career. Because people, when they change on subconscious level. They won't give you any credit. They will just disappear. How many times they just disappeared, and you meet them just in a year, and like, how was your phobia? It's like, phobia? Oh, that was a very long time gone. Well, because I haven't heard about it since, like, I don't know. And then it just disappears on its own, and they don't give you credit to that. But we know. It's like, well, I'm gonna quote Friends. Do they know we know that they know that we know they know?
Let me jump in here for a second and say we're down to about the last 10 minutes. So I'd love to open this up to any questions that you might have for Daniel. All you have to do is raise your hand or unmute yourself and you can ask away, or any disagreements that you might have with anything that was said. He can defend himself pretty darn well.
I do think it's important to point out that, Daniel, you mentioned a couple of times that sometimes people look at you like you come from another planet. The good news is Superman came from another planet.
Unfortunately for those people, they haven't found my kryptonite yet.
Yeah, right.
It is a point that I wanted to get into, which is, I think hypnosis is hypnosis, NLP, meditation, all mindfulness, a lot of that stuff is pretty widespread in America. In your country, things are different. Things are just different. I want to know about the state of hypnosis in Lebanon, in the Middle East. I want to know about the state of the profession in a country where things are collapsing, when you do have problems working on Zoom and stuff like that. Tell me about our profession there, Daniel.
Yeah, actually, hypnosis is quite known here in Lebanon. We even have our own syndicate that is, registered in the government. So we have a syndicate for that, where not many countries, they have syndicates for hypnotherapists. We have that. So this is totally different. It's quite common, but most of the people, they use it in adjunct too. So basically you have, just like anywhere in the world, a coach that's using hypnotherapy, or and they're using different types of doing that alternative healing. Now I'll tell you one thing, for a simple reason. People, they, just like anywhere in the world, they would like to go to the pharmacy rather than to go to the doctor. And this is where hypnotherapy works best, because people, they come to you because they don't want to go to a psychologist or a psychotherapist, because it feels like, we don't need that. And some situations are different, like more serious than others in these kind of things, where they weren't offered the proper help. But we have so many skilled people in here, and we work internationally for the simple reason, due to the economic situation, people not being able to afford practicing and paying for it. So basically, to do your practice, you need to pay all the alternative ways to have electricity, the internet, the the clinic, the office, the rent, and everything. But you can't keep up with the inflation, which you can tell people, okay, it's no possible way I can do that for you. So for us, we kept our pricing schema the way it was before the inflation, for anyone that wants to come. And then we, for me personally, I take a quota on people who I will assist, sometimes free of charge, sometimes with a very, very reduced price. It depends on their economic situation. So we're not here to just cut heads anyway. And from a religious point of view, we're a very, very diverse country, actually. We have 18 different sects we're talking about. In Christianity, we have, it goes from evangelists to Greek Orthodox, Armenian Orthodox. So basically, it's all over the place. I'm Maronite for people who just asking, Maronite is a fact. We follow the Catholic Church, but we are based in the Eastern part of the world, so it's quite interesting, and everyone has a different approach and perspective on sociological and demographic level, but it doesn't keep them away from coming to you as a hypnotherapist to seek help for many different reasons. On religious levels, the most religious people, they know from Christian point of view, we have the Pope, what is it, like Pius 12, who released two major letters on pain-free childbirth and hypnosis or hypnotherapy. So basically, from a religious point of view, some people will say no, it's not like that. And from Muslim point of view, many people will use it in a clinical domain. So we're not talking about, because some people think it's we're gonna get spirits in and they're talking to the dead and stuff like that. So people, they started understanding the whole aspect of hypnotherapy. It's quite interesting. People are open. It's different than other places in the Arab world and the Middle East. We're so diverse, quite cosmopolitan, polyglots, multilinguals, and multicultural, because most of the Lebanese people nowadays, from time way back, they started traveling. So it feels like you're dealing with Lebanese Americans, Lebanese Canadians, Lebanese French, so on and so forth. So you get the mix of both cultures or whatever they belong to, and this will give you an advantage when you're dealing with other countries. So you do understand the whole aspect of the culture from closer people to you. The biggest challenge for me, to be frank, is to work with the Arab world from linguistic point of view. It took me some time to understand all the dialects and accents. It's so hard. It was so hard. Now I'm getting used to it. So you can imagine, I don't know if that will happen to Americans when you're talking to Scottish people, let's say, where they're speaking with their really Scottish accent, or you're talking to an English with like Cockney dialect or something. It's something like that. Sometimes they talk and they're like, and how did that make you feel? I don't know what's talking. Sometimes I don't know what's happening. So,
and what language do you use primarily for hypnosis?
For Lebanese people, mostly like 3 languages at the same time. In Lebanon, we just like throw words. Sometimes we were talking Arabic, and then we just throw some French, and then here goes some English, and it goes ups and downs. So it's like that. That's Lebanese. Okay, that's the one.
Is most of your business in an office there, or is it mostly online on Zoom?
So after the inflation and COVID and everything, it went online to the point where it's 90% online. And I have one day only at the clinic. I go there just very limited amount of sessions because I don't have time to go to the office. So basically, people prefer, now with the inflation and the price of fuel and gas, they prefer to do it online rather than to travel and then come to the office. And some people, they come for the first time and say, you know what, I'm gonna do this online. It's fun and it's easier and it's better. And it's the same thing, because when I tell people, once you close your eyes, it's the same thing. It's like right. everything in the dark looks the same. So basically, it goes like that.
Isn't it interesting? So close and yet so far away. So very much the same.
God bless technology.
All over the world. It's wonderful that we have Zoom and we can get together all over the world.
Indeed.
It is. We have unfortunately come to the end of our time. I'm going to offer it one more time. If you have any questions, I'm going to have to say at this stage of the game that you probably should contact Daniel on his website, or that would be controlalt.com. It's in the chat room if you want to look quickly, or Daniel at ceolb.com. Those are ways to contact him. Daniel's got some things coming up. You're going to be in France, in Nice, in 2024 for the conference there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a.
I can say this, but you go ahead. I can do convention hypnose, but okay, convention hypnose moderne. How'd I do?
Convention de hypnose moderne. It's the convention of modern hypnosis. It's basically there's quite few people now. It's the Almanian way, if we can say. It's penetrating more and more in France. France is mostly Ericksonian. So if I don't come from there now, I went and I disappeared. And I could be in some sort of a Ericksonian temple being sacrificed on the Ericksonian altar. Anyway, so it goes like that. It's a convention. I was thrilled. I was contacted by Christophe Punk and Brice Lemaire concerning that convention, and I will be giving 2 lectures basically. One is on the regression to cause, and one is on the chair therapy, if we call the Gestalt way. Mostly the tidbits and the titles I gave in here. It's interesting to
Daniel, me. We are accepting proposals for speakers to the IACT IMDHA conference in May. So now would be a good time for you to submit your proposal and bring your lovely wife and new baby to America in May. Yeah.
So Dan, just look down your timeline, out there and see how wonderful it's already going to be, and we'll be waiting for you to
time progression. You mean?
Yeah. Yeah. This is the point we come to on our meeting where we all open our mics and give Daniel a great send-off, a wonderful cacophony of thank yous. And this will be available on our Facebook page, on YouTube tomorrow if you want to go back and review it. It's there evergreen, so you can always go back and check it out. Daniel, thank you so much for getting up in the middle of the night for us.
Thank you.
It was wonderful as always.
Thank you, Daniel.
You're amazing. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Wonderful.
See you
Wonderful.
next Tuesday, my friend.
Thank
Love
you.
Hope to see you soon.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everyone. See ya.
Caroline Sheen with Timeline Therapy on this program next month. See y'all then.
Cool.